I just like to thank the organizers of the event, and I think these events are very important where we can have an interchange and a dialogue and be respectful of everybody's opinion and learn from each other. I think that, and I also want to congratulate the work that you're doing with the homeless and helping the food drive. I think it's very important and something that we should all be involved in. I think my position represents the majority, probably 70% of the Israeli public and probably 65 or 70% of the American Jewish public. And that is a position that Israel has been yearning for peace since its creation, and has made many, many concessions to try to achieve peace. And unfortunately, as we sit here today, one of the problems is we don't have a partner for peace. Matter of fact, we have in the Palestinian Authority a group that refuses to sit down and negotiate with Israel. And in the Gaza Strip, we have Hamas, which is dedicated to the destruction of the State of Israel. As a matter of fact, yesterday was the 24th anniversary of Hamas's coming into existence, and they celebrated it in a big square in Gaza City with 100,000 people, and being proud of the fact that they have killed over 1,365 Israelis since their beginning, and have launched over 11,200 rockets and mortars into Israel. And can you imagine what Los Angeles would, people living in Los Angeles would feel like if we had 11,000 rockets and mortars hitting us in the last 24 years? Israel has made concessions for peace. We have a peace treaty with Egypt. We gave up the Sinai after '67, which had oil and a lot of strategic depth, and destroyed so-called, what people call settlements, I like to call them communities. I personally knew Prime Minister Begin. When I met him, he was planning on retiring in a place called Yamit, which when they signed the peace treaty with Egypt, they destroyed Yamit and moved the people out of Yamit. As we know, the Oslo Accords were started in 1993, and I think it was a reciprocal kind of an agreement that Israel would do something, the Palestinians would have to respond in kind, and I think right from the beginning that the Palestinians did not live up to their obligations, and that was one of the problems. We've had the peace offer made by Prime Minister Barak in 2000. We had the withdrawal from Lebanon in 2001. We've had the withdrawal from Gaza in 2005. We've had the Olmert Plan, which almost gave back 100% of the West Bank and go back to the '67 borders, including giving up the holy sites in Jerusalem to an international organization. And all of those offers were rejected by the Palestinians. And in about a minute or so, I want to show a little 5-minute film, if I still have 5 minutes worth of time. But I think one of the things I want to do is talk about some of the misconceptions and myths that exist out there about Israel. And hopefully in the question and answer period, I can get into more depth. I think one of the first myths that exists is that the root of the Middle East conflict is the Arab-Israeli conflict. And I disagree with that totally. In Bahrain, the Shiites wouldn't be fighting the Sunnis if Israel didn't exist. The Algerian Civil War wouldn't have taken place if Israel didn't exist. It has nothing to do, the Arab Spring has nothing to do with the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. I think a second myth is that the Palestinian conflict is about land. As I just stated, Israel has given up significant portions of land. We probably could have had a deal with Assad's father if he would have agreed to it over the Golan Heights. The third thing is that the settlements, so-called settlements, are an obstacle to peace. I don't believe that for 1 minute. Israel has dismantled settlements in the past. I think there's a consensus of both among Palestinians, Americans, the Quartet, and the Israelis about what settlements will remain in Israel. It's about 1.7% of the land that will be swapped out. And I think and Israel's shown if we have settlements that need to be dismantled, Israel's willing to dismantle them. I think the third myth is that the so-called Jewish lobby in America dominates and makes foreign policy in the Middle East. I totally disagree with that, and I think in some respects it's an anti-Semitic and racist view.